In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all, or at least have fun trying? Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog. Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the Dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that has been known to be Mr. South Carolina in the past, the Chicken. What up, Dog?
I am in mourning. That's why I'm wearing black. Wait till next year.
Look, man, I don't want anybody to get confused with Miss South Carolina. He's never been Miss South Carolina. I don't know if there'll ever be a Miss, Mr., Mrs. South Carolina. I don't know. You never know. But I'll digress from that.
Thank you, because the rest of us are confused.
Well, I was talking about, like, what was it the other day? It happened actually in Texas. World's strongest woman,
A woman, man.
was
The
actually
world's
a dude.
strongest man, woman.
Yeah, was actually a dude. That's what I was saying. I don't know if there'll ever be a Mr. South.
There will never be a Mr. Miss South Carolina or a chicken hen.
That's it. No. All right. Look, man, this weekend, week 14, rivalry week, craziness happened, and we're going to get to all that, but let's talk about more crazy stuff. And we talked about him a lot. Everybody's talking about this guy, and rightfully so. Lane Kiffin. What is Lane doing? Everything points that he's going to LSU, right? But he hasn't signed. So what happens?
Is he really caught up in this decision, or can he not find a pen? Right? Does anybody have a pen?
Next thing you know, you're going to see Donald Trump behind him go, here you go.
Yeah,
You never know. Because it's huge. It's huge.
Coach O's giving him a fat crayon, like, here you go, boy, here you go.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people are actually speculating that Coach O might be on his staff, that he would love to come back.
I mean, I don't see that as a bad move. I mean, Coach O,
No.
does it get more LSU than Coach O? I don't think.
Maybe Bobby Boucher. I don't know, but
Maybe.
I mean, they're right hand in hand.
Yeah.
I don't know, but look, man, Lane's supposed to be meeting with the players. Was supposed to be this morning. Now it's this afternoon. There's speculation that maybe there is a little bit of conflict with the LSU contract. Maybe they're still working some things out. I don't know, man. I know Lane wants to coach this Ole Miss Rebel team through the playoffs. I would like to see him coach them through the playoffs. You have a different, maybe not a different take on it, but you kind of understand where Ole Miss and their AD and their dean and everyone thinks on it. I'll let you get into that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand both sides. So Lane Kiffin is the quintessential competitor, right? And he sees the realization of not only his personal goals, but the team's goals at LSU this past season of you're 11-1. You're bound for the college football playoffs. You're not going to get to play in the conference championship, but is that maybe an easier path? Is it not? Who knows? At this point, who cares? But you're going to the CFP. You've got an opportunity to go deep into the college playoffs, maybe realize your dreams and win the whole thing. And if you make this decision to go to LSU, Ole Miss is going to take that away from you and say, nah, if you want the job at LSU, great, fine, good for you. We'll pack your stuff and mail it. But you're not coaching the boys anymore. Lane Kiffin not only has his personal thing that he wants to accomplish, but he's a coach. He wants this for his guys. He wants this for his team. On the other side of this equation is the Ole Miss football program. Now, what happens if you let Lane Kiffin stay? He's already told you that he's leaving, right? And we're filling in a lot of stuff here that hasn't been completely clarified. This is all just reports of this. My sources say that, whatever. But he's already basically indicated he's probably going to go. Are you going to let the now coach of LSU hang out in your locker room for an extra month through the playoffs to recruit players off of his former team to a rival SEC school in LSU. Do we really want to roll that dice? Do we really want to bet that he's not going to talk to now wonderful quarterback Chambliss of the Ole Miss Rebels? Like, you'd look really good in purple and yellow. I understand both sides. You gotta have a point here where you say, listen, we love you. We appreciate everything that you did for our program, but to protect what you built, you got to use that door going out.
Wow.
And don't let it hit you.
Yeah. I will tell you this. If he goes to LSU, which everybody, that's where it's looking like. I don't think he has to worry about Chambliss coming there. I think it's Austin Simmons. He recruited Austin Simmons to Ole Miss, out of high school. And so my gut tells me that Austin Simmons he'll probably welcome him at LSU. I see him leaving, but I think you're right. You got to worry about how many current players, how many recruits, how many people he's already been talking to that. Well, I guess if he goes to LSU, he can still talk to those players, those recruits, whatever. But I think it's more so in the locker room. I don't know. I think it's a mess. I don't blame. I wish Lane Kiffin would stay at Ole Miss. But I also understand, and I think you said it to me earlier today, even Saban kind of understands if he goes somewhere else. Regarded as the greatest coach of all time, General Nick Saban. If the way that he put it, man, it's like, look, you got to go where it's going to give you the best opportunity to win. He's been winning off of transfer portal. Now you take a Lane Kiffin and you move him to a place where he not only can he get recruits, but he can also have the transfer portal, and he's got more NIL. How dangerous is that?
Yeah, and the comment that was made was that when you're at a school like LSU, which is honestly not record-wise this year, but it's akin to an Alabama, it's akin to a Notre Dame, to a Georgia, to where you recruit these kids out of high school, and 98% of those guys are there through graduation, through realizing their NFL dreams, through super senior status, whatever, right? Like, they go to Bama, they stay at Bama. That's what LSU is. You recruit these guys, these 5-star players coming out of high school, and they're going to be LSU Tigers for the duration. And then you only have to supplement with the portal, the 2% that left for whatever reason, right? You only have to use that portal as a supplement to your roster. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss has had to recruit through the portal to fill his roster, not to supplement, but to find, all right, well, great. Who do we have this year? Now, that could be because of the state of Mississippi not having the players, right, that a state like Louisiana or Texas has got. Louisiana is going to recruit in both of those markets, obviously. It could be the funds provided him through NIL at LSU being monumentally larger than those at Ole Miss. I don't know all the ins and outs. Nobody gave me an Excel spreadsheet on this stuff. But the commentary is that you can go and be a strong recruiter at a school like LSU, which Coach O, by the way, they'd mentioned that championship season that they fell on such a dud after it wasn't just as simple as replacing a Joe Burrow. It was the fact that he was so focused on the now that maybe he took his eyes off of the recruiting path a little bit, and that's why they didn't come into the following year with such a strong roster. Lane Kiffin can go and he can work those recruiting pathways, build that strong foundation for LSU back, and only pick the fruit that he needs out of the portal.
Absolutely, man. And the other thing is you and I talked about this a couple of days ago. If in fact he leaves and goes to LSU, I think Ole Miss only has themselves to blame at that, not to give them a fighting chance of keeping Lane Kiffin. And that's because they hounded him to make a decision. They pushed him into a corner and saying, we need you to tell us what you're going to do, instead of letting Lane do what Lane does and let this season play out. Would LSU have waited till the end of the season? I don't know. Obviously, Florida didn't, right? And we'll get to that in a minute. But maybe LSU would have. Maybe they wouldn't have. It may have forced LSU to go somewhere else. Lane Kiffin, I think if Lane Kiffin was going to leave and he wasn't pressured by Ole Miss, he wouldn't have made an announcement until after the playoffs. He would have waited. He'd have coached his team to the playoffs and then did his thing. And who knows what would have happened.
I agreed with that in lockstep earlier in the week. I have somewhat repositioned my stance on it. And a lot had to do with when the reasoning came out from the Ole Miss higher-ups, the athletic director, the chancellor, of saying, this is the why. This is why, if you're going to go, you got to go. Like, you can't hang around. It's because it's a protection of what Lane Kiffin built at Ole Miss. And I'll go back to, as I often do, a yes, Gamecocks on the wrong side of the story event. Years before he actually stepped away, Steve Spurrier went to the athletic director at South Carolina and said, this is probably going to be my last season. South Carolina, because you got Steve Spurrier, of course, begged him. No, you need to stay. You need to stay. It will be bad for the school if you leave now. It'll be bad for our program if you leave now. Spurrier had already built South Carolina into what was about to become a historic run of 3 11-win seasons. He had already built that roster up, built that coaching staff up to be able to take those next steps to be a power in the SEC. But Carolina would not let him go peacefully into that good night. And they drug every last ounce of coaching desire out of the man until the last season here wasn't even a full season. He just tapped the brakes and said, I'm getting off the bus. I'm out. I'm not in it anymore. The players aren't responding to me like they once did. This isn't working. And South Carolina went into a tailspin. Why? Because South Carolina didn't have the foresight to protect what Spurrier had built for them. Ole Miss is, no offense to Lane Kiffin, in fact, in support of what Lane Kiffin has done, they're trying to protect that. Said, look, this is what you've done for us here in Oxford. This is what you've done for the Rebel football program. We're not willing to throw that away. We appreciate what you've done so much that we're willing to kick you out. So I see both sides.
I do, but then you got a reporter calling him a hoe, an Ole Miss reporter. Yeah, that was stupid. Call. That was a bad call. And I think it was a bad call that the AD was on the sidelines breathing down his neck the entire Egg Bowl. It's just a bad look, man. But anyway, we'll know the future of that program. We'll know the future of Lane Kiffin at some point today. And by the time this post, we'll all know.
It's already out there.
Yeah, for sure. But look, man, speaking of coaches, Florida Gators have hired Summerall from Tulane. Great pick, guys. That's a good look.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, very talented coach. You look at what he's done with the Green Wave. They're not a flash in the pan successful now program. He's been building something special there. And as long as he can do it on the right pace, tempo that the folks in Gainesville want to see, and I think if he can do it with the right amount of flair that Napier, Captain Floby, didn't have, I think that he can have a successful tenure there in the swamp.
I think so too. Auburn hired a coach. They got Alex Golich from South Florida. Another great pick for Auburn. I think he could do some good things in the Plains.
You know, the rumor was that he was going to go to Arkansas, and I felt like that would have been a good fit for both Arkansas and for Golich. However, now that things have shifted and he's going to the Plains there with Auburn, I think that's a great fit for both. I think that Golish is going to fit right into what they expect, the way he's going to run that program. And I think that he will be embraced by those folks down there. It's going to be neat to see the Iron Bowl next year when the Auburn Tigers actually have a coach on the sideline.
Absolutely, because my gosh, and we'll get into that game in a little bit, but it was good. And the other good thing about him, man, is he's from South Florida. He's been recruiting in that neck of the woods, maybe not all the way up, but I think he'll have a better head start at Auburn than he would in Arkansas. But speaking
I
of
believe that he was on Heupel's staff at Tennessee, which is going to give him that familiarity of recruiting in the Southeastern.
Speaking of Arkansas, they hired Silverfield from Memphis. Now, you and I talked about that when they first fired Sam Pittman, is that, he was one on the list, man. Could he make it? And I was like, man, that would be a great, great fit, a good transition in the area. All you got to do is slide over, go west a little bit, and you're there. So great pick, guys. I think that was great.
Yeah, you hop across the river and drive a couple hours and you're there in Fayetteville. So he's familiar with the region. He's going to be a really good pickup for the Hogs.
I think so too. Now, Michigan State fired their coach, and so did Coastal Carolina after 3 seasons.
All eligible Chanticleers are saying, we want more. And I don't know. Apparently they got way more clout than some other schools in the state. They believe they can go out and get somebody, that there's someone to be had that wants to wear the teal and black and come to Conway. I mean, hey, if you can do it, shots up, guys. Let's get this done.
Yeah. What I don't understand is bowl eligible. What did they think? They could beat South Carolina? I mean, did you guys put a nail in this dude's future?
Could be. And all I can say is after the season that the Gamecocks have had, I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. I apologize. Not only did South Carolina beat the Chanticleers 2 weeks ago, they beat them bad. You may as well have just stayed home and taken the 7-0 forfeit. But be that as it may, I'm sure that there are better things for you in this life. Obviously, it's not going to be coaching the Chants next year, but more power to you, Coach Beck. I hope opportunity finds you somewhere in the fall.
Yeah. So there's still quite a bit of openings around college football as far as coaching, right? Well, 2 coaches, 3, but we'll talk about 2 right now, have signed contract extensions and said, I'm here to stay. And that's Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. Good for you. As much as we don't like him, he is a good coach. We got to give him that. The other one, which I'm very proud of, is Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, man.
Yeah.
How great is that for him to say, nope, I'm staying. I'm going to build this program into something. And we're going to find out what kind of coach this guy is next year. Maybe he already knows that Pavia is the Vanderbilt Commodores. And next year, because Pavia is going to, you're not allowed to play college football and draw Social Security at the same time. So he's got to go. So maybe this contract extension, he knows that next year is just going to fall apart and he's going to get paid. I don't know, but I'm glad he's staying.
So you're saying that he's hedging his bets, essentially.
Yeah.
I think that this is a great thing for him as a coach to show that dedication to his program. Vanderbilt is his first opportunity as a head coach, I believe. I think he came from Marcus Freeman's staff up at Notre Dame. And he's establishing something here. He's building something here. Notre Dame has got entrance standards as well that often get overlooked by us, at least in the media, so much as that of Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's got higher entrance standards, academics, and things of that nature. And that's historically why they've not been able to compete on a football level. Those standards have not been reduced. Clark Lee just knows how to fill his roster with talented Commodores that meet those standards, exceed those standards. I think it's great. And I think it's great for the Commodores. Yeah, Pavia, but Clark Lee's the one that went out and got him.
I know, and I was just messing with Clark, man. But I mean, I think he's a good coach. I'm glad that he's staying. I'm glad he's digging his heels into that program, and is going to do something that maybe what Lane Kiffin did at Ole Miss. Maybe he's the next Lane to take a program. I mean, and we'll get into this game in a minute, man. But in the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss went 11-1, first time in program history. Lane Kiffin. That's what he did for that program. Unbelievable. Now, there's one more coach I want to talk about that has come out and said he's not going anywhere as well. And that is your boy, or maybe it's mine, or both, Mark Stoops from Kentucky. Now, Kentucky didn't come out and said he's not going nowhere. He did. So
there's a big difference. There was another announcement, and I'm just going to put it out there to juxtapose the fact that we're talking about Stoops. There was another announcement this past week prior to Saturday where the South Carolina athletic director came out and said, yes, Shane Beamer will be the head coach for the Gamecocks in 2026. I think it means more when your AD says it instead of you.
yeah.
Because in the background while Mark's sitting there, I'm not going anywhere. The athletic department might be, can we set an appointment up with him for Tuesday? We've got some things to discuss.
Yeah.
Good for you, Mark. We're glad you feel that way,
and what you was telling me that there's in the rumor mill kind of is Kentucky should go after that that coach from North Texas, right?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was the offensive coordinator. It could have been the head coach at North Texas. I'm not really sure, but that was some buzz that I saw. No idea how official or if official that is, because the first thing you got to do is can Stoops. But yeah, there's obviously not everybody is happy with Mark's opinion of himself, that he's staying in Lexington.
Yeah, you know my opinion about the guy. I don't like him. I think he's a punk. Mark, if you want to change my mind, you can more than welcome to come on to the show. We'll have you. But I still may think you're a punk afterwards. I don't know. But anyway, a lot of crazy stuff happening in the world of college football. And let's talk about these games that went on, man. Man, they were great. They were really, really. I mean, this weekend was just fun to watch, man. And we're going to start with the SEC. Maybe because we're the best. I don't know, but that's who we're going to start with. So on Friday, number 4, they were 10-1 going in this game. Georgia took on a number 23. They were 9-2 going into this game. Georgia Tech, the good old-fashioned hate game is what they call it. Georgia beat them 16-9. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't the best win that we had. But the one thing I'll say about Georgia and Georgia's defense, well, overall, Georgia looked like they were in control of that game all year. They never looked out of sorts, right? So that was a good thing. The other thing was Georgia's defense, Georgia Tech's offense, and Haynes King have been crazy good all year long, right? They didn't let him in the end zone, not one time, man. They only let him with 3 field goals. I think that's that's huge for Georgia's defense down the stretch.
Definitely huge for Georgia's defense. And you mentioned it, that this was a very competitive ball game. Georgia had to get it all done on the ground, 190 total yards running the football. Gunnar Stockton's only able to throw for 70 yards. He does throw for a touchdown, but he also throws for an interception. But if you look at the box score on this thing, it's just back and forth the whole way. Who's going to get a leg up? Georgia's able to get that leg up and keep it. while all Georgia Tech could do is try and chip and claw away at it. You can't get in the end zone. You're not beating the Bulldogs, and there's your outcome.
Yeah. This next game, man, that happened on Friday as well. And man, it was fun to watch. We both got it right. Number 3, 11-0. Texas A&M, the Screaming Bobs, had to go to Austin, Texas, and take on a number 16, 8-3, 5-2 in the SEC, Texas Longhorns. And the Longhorns handled them guys, man, 27-17. It was a great game to watch. It was a fun game to watch, man. Arch looked pretty comfortable in that game, man. I know Sark is running his mouth about we belong after this win. We just took down the number 3 team and beat them by 10 points. You've said it the last 2 years, man. Win your games and you're in. And that's where they're at.
Well, it's where they're at, but they do have 3 losses. We've seen what the committee does with 3 losses. I'm sure that they will be given some recognition because you knocked down A&M. Now, let me go back real quick and correct you. I picked this one wrong. I had the Aggies in this one. Uncle Kenny picked this one right. Uncle Kenny had the Aggies going directly into a buzzsaw, and that's what happened. I'm 2 for 1 on the weekend on these games on Friday. But I'm going to back up just a minute. I don't think that Texas is going to climb from rank number 16 in the country to rank number 9 in the college football playoffs. They're not going to have that big of a jump. Good year. You beat your chest all you want. You belong. Win more than 9 games and talk to me about that.
Yeah, and there's 2 other teams that's in front of them that won this weekend, and especially one of them that can make a case that they deserve to be in way more than Texas does. But we'll get that in a minute. So the next game was the Egg Bowl. Kind of talked about that a little bit already with Lane Kiffin. They were 10-1 going to this game. Number 7 Ole Miss had to take on, hey, look, man, a 5-6 Mississippi State, and they had to play in Starkville. We thought this was going to be a win for Ole Miss, and it was. They beat them 38-19. Great win, great season, not only for Ole Miss Rebels, but the Mississippi State Bulldogs, man. I mean, you can't complain about having a 5-7 season after you won 2 games last year.
Yeah, I mean, massive progress this year. You know, you had to root for them once you got to that halfway mark because you saw how close they were to eligibility to go to a bowl game to play in the postseason. Lane Kiffin puts that to an end on Friday evening. It's not going to happen. However, great year for the Bulldogs there, but you know, Chambliss had some things to say about that, including 359 yards and 4 touchdowns. So long off season for the Bulldogs, but we'll see what they come back with next year.
Yep. Now, this next game that happens Saturday, man, this is the team that is in front of Texas right now as far as in the standings. But I would argue after this game, should they belong? So a struggling 7-4 LSU. They were 3-4 in the SEC. Had to go to Norman, Oklahoma. That's right. I said Norman, Oklahoma. Take on a number 8. They were 9-2, 5-2 in the SEC, Oklahoma. And Oklahoma only beat them 17-13. John Mateer had a decent game. There's no doubt about that. But you only beat these guys by 4 points at home. That's not a good look.
It's not a good look. The later in the season that Oklahoma has gotten, it almost just seems like they've cooled off a bit. I mean, they're still winning. They're 10-2 on the year. They're still winning their games. We just talked about with Texas. You want in, win to get in, and Oklahoma is able to maintain that. But yeah, I feel like they could have come out a bit stronger in this one. This is deemed a rivalry game by these 2 schools. It ain't your arch rival Texas. It's not your in-state Oklahoma State. It's LSU. So, you know, how seriously do these guys take it versus some of those other games? I don't know. But not the loudest statement of teams in the SEC in similar position this past weekend. Not a very loud announcement of we belong.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm going to skip this game just to talk about this next game. Right now, this team right here, they had an in-state rivalry. They had to go to their in-state rivalry. They had to leave Nashville and travel to Knoxville. So at number 14, they were 9-2, 5-2 in the SEC. Had to take on a really good number 19 Tennessee. Man, Tennessee was 8-3. They were 4-3 in the SEC. And Diego Pavia, Clarkley, the Vanderbilt on the road beat them 45-24. Man, you want to talk about, if there's ever a team, if you ask me, that is outside that should jump in or has the strongest case, it's the 10-2 number 14 Vanderbilt.
I don't disagree. I don't know that it'll happen. Again, we're talking about the number of spots that they have to jump up. And I don't know if there was enough movement this past weekend. Maybe there was. Maybe there'll be some guys that get disappointed to make room for Vanderbilt. Right now, the estimation is that you might need to get up to the number 9 team in the CFP rankings. Oklahoma's at number 8 already, and they didn't lose. Alabama, I believe, is at number 10, and they won on the road. So it's very congested right there at that bottleneck of entrance to the CFP. Diego Pavia comes out 268 yards through the air, a touchdown, 2 picks, but he runs the ball for 165 yards and another touchdown in a mammoth effort against the in-state rival Tennessee Volunteers. Every year prior to this score is flipped.
Yeah.
But Vanderbilt makes a huge statement, which Oklahoma did not on Saturday. We'll see how that plays out in the committee's minds.
Yeah, when I was watching this game, man, my wife was sitting in the recliner next to me, and she's not a football person, right? She's not, but she'll sit in there with me and watch games and peek and look and whatever. And she was asking about, why is the quarterback? And she was talking about Pavia putting his hands on his helmet. It's like, what is he trying to do? I said, he's trying to listen. I said, you don't understand. I said, first and foremost, Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, that's the biggest stadium in the SEC. They hold the most people. And it's probably one of the loudest, probably one of the most hostile environments you can be in. And so for Pavia to do that performance, if at least he needs to go to New York, if you ask me, I think that's your Heisman winner. He has proven himself over and over and over to be that guy that has put his team on his back and prevail. And I like the young man or the old man. He's older than me, but I like him. I think he did a fantastic job this season, and I hope that his season's not over besides a bowl game.
If he didn't play his way into a Heisman, he certainly played his way onto an NFL roster or two when the draft comes up in April. An amazing performance, hostile territory, a lot going on the line here for Vanderbilt to keep them in the conversation for the playoffs. We'll see how it all hashes out, but what a great year.
Fantastic, man. You mentioned this game a minute ago. So a number 10, Alabama. Number 10. They are now 10-2, 7-1 in the SEC. They had to take on at the time, a 5-6 Auburn. They were playing on the Plains. You and I talked. Auburn was 1-6 in the SEC going to this game, man. They'd only won one SEC game. And you and I talked about this, and even Senior Chief has said this game is always tricky. You never know what's going to happen. And I'll be, man, if it was not a dogfight to the end, but Alabama won 27-20. And it was a fun game to watch last night.
A game to watch. Alabama comes into this game, and yes, this game is always weird, right? Like Auburn, no business being in this game. They're unranked. They've had a struggling season. Their head coach got fired, I don't know, a month and a half ago, right? So they've been kind of left out there to drown in the sea for a while now, and they're patching and piecing and putting things together. Ashton Daniels is their starting quarterback for the Tigers going into this one. He throws for 259 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Simpson throws for 122 yards, 3 touchdowns. Alabama comes in and just absolutely controls this football game on the ground. 58 yards, 83 of those from Jam Miller. No touchdowns on the ground, no rushing touchdowns, but they just control the clock and they wear the Tigers out. Do they make enough of a statement? Again, Alabama ranked number 10 in the country. Auburn not. Auburn struggling this year, struggling worse than an LSU. Did Alabama say enough in this win? I say that they did, not because I'm a homer for the Crimson Tide, but because historically, this game is truly to the definition of a rivalry game where you throw the records out. Nothing else matters than winning your state, and Alabama stiff-armed the Tigers.
The only thing there's a couple things that I didn't understand. Well, one thing I didn't understand about this game. Last week, our Gooch winner was no other than Deuce Knight from Auburn. The quarterback that came in, now I know it was against Mercer, but Mercer was 9-1 going in that game. And he did well. I mean, God, he played lights out football. Why didn't he play yesterday? Why did Ashton Daniels get the starting job over him? So I got to thinking, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's because if he played in one more game, that'll kill it. They can't redshirt him. So I was like, maybe that's it. So I looked it up. Nope. He's only played in 2 games. It would have only been his 3rd game. So I don't understand. And look, I'm not as up to date with Auburn. They haven't been that relevant this year. So maybe there is something to it. I just don't know what it was. But the other thing is Alabama's sitting at number 10. Everybody ahead of them, the only person that lost was A&M. Do I believe that Alabama jumps A&M? Are they going to slide A&M all the way that far with their first loss, an 11-1 team? I say no. So I don't think anyone above Alabama moves. So Alabama's still sitting at number 10. Now Alabama gets to play in the SEC championship this coming weekend. What happens if they lose? And I know we're jumping to kind of the forecast, but I'm just trying to think about we're talking about this Diego Pavia and Clark Lee and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Do they have a claim into this? And maybe that's it. I mean, if Alabama was to lose and lose big to Georgia, Vandy's got a case.
It's interesting because the log jam last year for the SEC was amongst 9-3 teams. And we talk about it all the time. Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina, Missouri was 9-3. Okay. They just didn't yell that loud about it. But that was your bottleneck of teams that were saying, we belong in the playoff. We belong in the playoff. And the line was drawn. If you're a 3-loss team, you don't belong in this playoff setup. Now you've got 10-2 teams in the SEC. Alabama back on that list. Ole Miss went one better and said, we're 11-1. So a lot of effort to get into those playoffs. Georgia's at 11-1, ranked number 4. A&M 11-1, currently ranked at number 3. Ole Miss 11-1, ranked at number 7. There's a lot of representation from the SEC in there. What kind of moves are made for these 10-2 schools? And how bad does it hurt Alabama to play in and potentially lose? Now, every Crimson Tide fan out there is going to say, that's not going to happen. We're going to knock off Georgia. But to play an extra game and then potentially get penalized for that. If you're Alabama at number 10 and you go in and you lose to Georgia in the SEC Conference Championship game. You've played an extra game. Now you've got a third loss, and Vanderbilt slips past you. Tuscaloosa will burn.
It will. You know what? Uncle Kenny could sober up for it. I don't know.
He might. Kalen DeBoer, you need to have a go bag packed. I'm just going to tell you.
Gosh almighty, it's going to be interesting to find out. I mean, but again, if Alabama was sitting at like, let's just say where Lane Kiffin is sitting at number 6 and number 7, somewhere in that, and you lose a game, okay, then maybe, you lose a conference championship. Then maybe you don't slide out. But we got to remember, guys, that Alabama's currently sitting number 10. I don't think that changes. I just don't. I don't think they move at all. So in other words, they are essentially the last seed because you don't have an ACC team in that top, above them. One's got to jump in the conference championship, whether it's Virginia or SMU. A lot of people are really big on Miami, and that's another team to look at. We'll talk about that too, man. A lot of people are starting to look at this Notre Dame team and go, now, wait a minute. 2-loss Miami, 2-loss Notre Dame. Miami beat Notre Dame. It's goofy, but again, Alabama's sitting at the bottom of that tier, the very last spot. If they lose to Georgia, do they get penalized? I think if they lose big. They get penalized and they're out. I do. If they lose by a field goal, I think it's hard to penalize a team that had to play a 13th game. And that's just my take.
I think what we're seeing now, and again, I don't want to get too deep into it because we'll have upcoming shows about the playoffs specifically, but I think we're starting to see the importance of adding, in my opinion, at minimum, 4 more schools, right, into this playoff and removing, Nick Saban talked about it on game day this past weekend, removing the auto bid for conference champions. If you're not in the top 15, then you're not in the top 15. Sorry. ACC is a prime example of this. I think you should remove the group of 5 auto bid. If we talk about it all the time, whether it's a bunch of SEC schools or a bunch of Big Ten schools, we want the playoffs to represent the best field in college football. If that doesn't include a group of 5 school, sorry, win and get in.
Yeah, be like an SMU and leave the American Conference and join the ACC. And what happened last year, their first year? They made it to the playoffs because they played and they played well in the ACC. Now, here's the next game. Speaking of Stoops, a 5-6 going into this game.
Nobody in Louisville is speaking of Stoops, by the way. It's just a teaser.
Oh my gosh. A 5-6 Kentucky, the Fighting Stoopies, had to take on, in my opinion, a really good Louisville team, man. Louisville's been playing good football all year, man. Louisville was 7-4 going in this game, and they had to play at home. It's the Battle of Kentucky. And let me just say this. Louisville beat them 41 to nothing. 0. Zilch. Nada. That's the only other words I know for 0. So, not a good look for Stoops at all.
No, the fact that it again looks like he didn't even get off the bus. And I'm sorry, sports fans, because I thought Kentucky was going to win this. I thought the fact that they were sitting at 5-6 going into this and going up against a 7-win at the time Louisville, if I can get it out of my mouth correctly, I'm having a dog day. I thought they're going to win their way into a bowl game. Look at what they're going to do here. And old Marky Mark just decides to lay a big egg in Louisville. And say, you know what, guys, we're not even going to score. Let's just see what happens. I'm staying, by the way, but I'm gonna do that by not scoring any points. Good luck.
Yeah, Good luck, Mark,
Good
because
luck.
I'm glad that you made that statement. Like you said, it would have been a whole lot better if your AD would have came out and made that statement, but we shall see. I was wrong on this one. I
And
was,
I was regrettably right.
yeah, this is true. Look, man, a struggling Clemson team. This is the Battle of South Carolina. A struggling Clemson team. They were 6-5 going into this game. Had to take on your South Carolina Gamecocks, the Fighting Beamers. I love this team, man. I love this coach. And South Carolina was 4-7 going 4-7 going into this game. And I mean, it was a ball game the first half. I mean, going to halftime, it was 17-14. It was anybody's show. This is the second time Carolina, at least the second time Carolina has come back in the second half and say, yeah, I'm done playing now. And they were scoreless, man, in the third and fourth quarter, but Clemson beat them 28-14.
Yeah. Let me say a couple of things. First off, congratulations, Clemson. Congratulations, Dabo. You've had a rough season. I think that it's your 7-5 record shows, in my opinion, what a good coach Dabo is. The fact that he can bring these guys back in after a rough start, piecemeal a winning season. You're going to a bowl game. You're certainly nowhere near the position that you want to be in your conference or in playoff standings, but you put enough together to come out with a good record. South Carolina, not so much. This was a really bad year. The fact that they just absolutely embarrassed the Chanticleers the week before now just blows my mind. You don't know who you're going to get on Saturdays with the Gamecocks this season. I don't know where the fissure is and how deep it runs. But it's just not good. The real work begins now, in my opinion. This was scoreboard wise a good game going into the half, but the first quarter, neither team looked like they wanted to be there, let alone play football. The second quarter looked like nobody could stop the other. It was Clemson scores, Carolina scores, Clemson scores, Carolina scores, Clemson scores, back and forth in the second quarter. And you mentioned it in the second half. Clemson's able to put together enough. They get 11 points in the second half. They put enough up on the board to win, and South Carolina looked like they had just had enough, and they're ready to get to the evening where the real work can start. It's time for Shane Beamer to start taking some hard looks at his coaching staff, at his players. We talked about the transfer portal before with Lane Kiffin. Well, now it's time for Shane Beamer to start working on the recruiting the players that you want to keep on your roster that are currently there. Dylan Stewart didn't play much in this game at all. I don't know if that was because of injury or because maybe Dylan Stewart has decided that he's had enough of Columbia. Don't know where Lenore Sellers is going to end up after all this. He puts up 381 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, but I'm going to tell you, I have been significantly unimpressed with Sellers this season. The older Sellers brother. Jaden Sellers has come on in the second half of the year as a receiver, but just, I don't know, man. There's a lot of evaluating that needs to take place in Columbia to see where we go from here. Shane Beamer has been given at least another year by this athletic department. Let's see what he does with it starting now, starting in the offseason. It's time to put on your big boy pants and go to work. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, man. I like I like Shane Beamer, and I think Beamer will have a bounce back year next year. I really do. I think he's going to be just fine. Here we go, the old evil one. And now last year they were 9-3. This year they ended up with 8-4. Mizzou had to take on a coachless, or was coachless. They got a coach now. They're now 10-2. Arkansas and Missouri beat them 31-17. They were playing in Fayetteville. It wasn't even close. Great job, Drinkwitz, man. I mean, another great season that you put him, man. A really good season. Great job.
Yeah, they don't end up where they wanted to. You know that they wanted to see growth after that 9-3 year last year. They would have loved to have been one of those teams that went 10-2 and was caught in yet another traffic jam to get into the playoffs. It didn't quite work out that way this year. But if you're going to have a fallback year from a 9-3 season, you want it to be 8-4, not 4-8. Gamecocks. Hats off to Eli. Hats off to Missouri. They had a great season, put together what they had to, even when they faced a couple games with their starting quarterback, Bo Purila, sitting out due to injury. They're able to come out with a great win here against Arkansas. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leaves us one last game in the SEC. It was the Battle of Florida. Who was going to win? Who was going to take the crown of being the school in the great state of Florida? And so a 5-6 Florida State Seminoles out in Tallahassee had to make a drive over to Gainesville to take on a 3-8 Florida Gators. And Florida has been put through the ringer the last couple of years. This is another season that you just kind of go, really? But man, Florida did what Florida did to Texas. They beat them 40-21, man. That was a great look.
Great look for Florida. Florida State is playing for bowl eligibility and state pride in this game. If they can beat the hapless Gators, they're going to a bowl game. For the Florida Gators, they've got home field they've got to defend, and they would love nothing more than to spoil the season for Florida State, and that's exactly what they did. DJ Lagway, 168 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Did he pick up a lot on the ground? Nah, he lost a yard. Net 1 yards to the negative for DJ on Saturday. However, and at this time of year, it's difficult to find a gooch. Jaden Ball, 38 carries. 38 carries. In the age of playing 3 running backs, maybe even 4, Jaden Ball carries the gauntlet. 38 of 45 carries by the team are Jaden's, 266 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let me put that in perspective for you. Jaden Ball had only eclipsed the century mark 3 times previously this season. 104 yards against, yes, the ever so defensive-laden Long Island Fighting AOCs. 9 carries for 104 yards in that game, 27 carries for 107 yards against Texas, and 23 carries for 150 yards against Mississippi State. Those are his big game totals after a 4-game losing streak. They lose to Georgia. They lose to Kentucky. They lose to Ole Miss. They lose to Tennessee. You give this young man the ball 38 times, 266 yards, 2 scores. Jaden Ball put the Gators on his back and ran them to victory to spoil the season for the Seminoles. That's your Gooch of the Week.
You know, kind of an unconventional type Gooch, right? But I mean, great game, man. Very proud of this young man. And it's because of this young man that we got to at least mention 2 more times now the AOC Sharks, the Long Island Sharks. You, young man, have brought the Sharks back to prominence. Good job.
Good job.
Yeah. And as we say, as the Gooch, don't come back. That's right. Don't come back. Look, man, let's get into these top 25 games. There was a lot, some great, man, it was good. I wouldn't say this game was good. You and I called it. We knew it was going to be this way. But at number 2, Indiana, man, they were 11-0 going in this game. Undefeated Indiana. Gosh, had to take on a 2-9 at the time Purdue, and Indiana They were playing at Purdue. Maybe where they get the 3 points from, I don't know. But Indiana beat them 56-3. Man, it wasn't even close. And now we get to find out how good Indiana is and how good Ohio State is.
Yeah, Fernando Mendoza didn't have to do that much in this one. He's 8 of 15 for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns because why not? Alberto Mendoza, his younger brother, comes in. He goes 2 for 2 for 76 yards and a touchdown because apparently that's what the Mendoza family does is they throw touchdown passes. But hey, it's Purdue. I think that you and I probably could have combined for at least one touchdown pass against the Boilermakers this year. They're 2-10. They're going home. Indiana gets to continue playing football.
Yes, they do. You and I both got this one right. So at number 13, Utah, they were 9-2 going into this thing, had to take on a Kansas. And Kansas had, they were 5-6 going to this, man, and Utah beat them 31-21. Great look, Utah. Is it enough to get in? Nope.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, the upside that they've got over a Vanderbilt, for example, is they're currently ranked number 13 in the country, and they are now at 10-2. They're not going to have to play in their conference championship game either, so no threat of an additional loss going into the postseason. However, just like we talked about, not sure that there's enough movement there to allow them to bust up into the number 10 or number 9 spot.
The next game that happened, the last game that happened on Friday within the top 25, number 25 Arizona had to take on a number 20 Arizona State. And look, man, we both had the Sun Devils on this game, but we were wrong, man. Arizona beat them 23-7.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure why, we go over these scores for the top 25. It doesn't necessarily mean that we've been paying attention so much to their rosters. Sam Levitt doesn't look to have played in this game. I've not been able to find in a quick search, was he injured? What happened? So not really sure. I'm sure we'll get some kind of comment talking about our intelligence levels on this one. But Levitt is out. That probably had a lot to do with it, at least in the competitiveness of this ball game. Arizona owns this one early and often, 23-17.
They could have really used a Scatterboo.
They could have. They could have used a Levitt or a Scatterboo or something going into this game.
Yeah.
They needed a lot more than what they got.
We're from the Southeastern Conference. We have some old rivalries. We have some good old-fashioned hatred between teams. Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Clemson, right? But I rank this as one of the highest there is, man. A number 5 a number 1 Ohio State had to take on a number 15 Michigan. And Michigan's been playing great football, man. They were 9-2 going in this game. Ohio State was 11-0, undefeated as number 1 team. And Ohio State and Ryan Day finally got over the hump and beat Michigan 27-9.
Massive game. Game day is there for this one. In the South, in the SEC, we have the Egg Bowl. We have the Iron Bowl. We have the Palmetto Bowl. We have clean old-fashioned hate. We have the South's oldest rivalry of Georgia and Auburn. These guys just call it the game. Why? Because it doesn't need any additional marketing efforts. This is just that. This rivalry is that huge. Everybody in the country knows about it. The game. The Buckeyes come out on top. Julian just saying 233 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bo Jackson, 22 carries, 117 yards for the Buckeyes. Great game. Ryan Day, you're not our favorite guy, but congratulations, 27-9, and your Buckeyes roll.
Yeah, man, you got over that hump, man. That was a really, really good look. Now, one of the things, because this was in Michigan, that I thought was interesting, it was snowing. They had snow on the ground, whatever. It wasn't crazy snow, but the field was starting to come white. But after this win, all the Michigan players gathered around the 50-yard line in that center of that field, man, and they protect the middle of their field from any Ohio State player to come in and doing something. Now, the other thing, and I thought that was kind of cool, but the other, and I don't know if any Ohio State guy was planning on doing something or not. I don't know. But the other thing is in Ryan Day's post game press conference, he said something to the fact that, I've been waiting 5 years to be able to comment on beating Michigan. And now that it's finally here, there's so many things that I would like to say, but I think it's best if I practice humility at this point, because that's what Buckeye Nation is supposed to be. Good God, man, that was a great move, Ryan Day. My respect from you moved up a couple notch, a quarter. No, I'm just playing. It moved up a couple notches for me, man. I thought that was very classy for him. Good job. Okay, we didn't think this game was going to be a game, and it wasn't. Number 5, Texas Tech took on West Virginia. West Virginia was kind of that middle of the road type game season this year. Tech beat them 49-0. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Rube, your guys are getting hot at the right time. Wait a minute. They've been that way all year. You've got to continue, though. You've got to make your way through BYU in the Big 12 championship game. I think just to feel good about where you're going to finally end up. You're ranked number 5. Do I think that a loss in a championship game would knock you out? I don't think so. But man, fickle things have happened with these committees, and they love TV ratings. So Texas Tech, your best bet is to continue to win. Great job this weekend.
Yeah, my gut tells me that if BYU wins this the Big 12 championship game, you will only see 4 SEC teams in, or Notre Dame gets knocked out.
That could be interesting.
They could. Number 6, Oregon, man. Oregon's been playing good. Me and you have talked about, they just kind of been flying under the radar, man. They had to go to Washington and take on a really good, man. Washington was 8-3 going into this game. And the Oregon Ducks, the Fighting Lannings, they did great, man. 26-14. Great game, great win.
Yeah, again, I've said it all year. They don't have to do it flashy. Dan Lanning has built a championship caliber program there in just a few short years where all they do is just win. And as I keep saying this show, win and you're in. That's the most important part. Don't give me a flashy loss. Give me a solid W.
I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that's going to be in the playoffs, they better not sleep on Oregon. Oregon can beat you. For sure.
That's right.
Speaking of Notre Dame. All right, so number 9, Notre Dame, they were 9-2 going into this game, had to go to California to take on a 4-7 Samford. Notre Dame beat them 49-20. Yeah, that's a good look. There's no doubt about it. That's a good win. But you're at number 9, dude. I'm telling you, that number 9 spot is not a good place to be in.
It's got to be uncomfortable right now. Yes, you go in and you win on the road at Stanford. Yes, it's a traditional. Notre Dame. For Notre Dame, it seems like everybody is a rival for these guys, but I think they play for one of the shillelaghs in this game. I can't remember which one it is, and I don't care. 49-20 against a struggling Stanford Cardinal this year. You should have won this game. Congratulations, you did. But you're in the most uncomfortable position because you don't have the opportunity to play. Wait a minute. Let me back that up just a minute and amend it. You don't give yourself the opportunity to play for a conference championship game because you think you're better than that. So there's no opportunity for you to put cement on top of your resume. You're in a fickle spot, buddy. And let me tell you, depending on what happens with these SEC schools that are bottlenecked at 10-2, you're 10-2. If BYU is able to win the Big 12 Conference Championship, they are currently ranked at 11 and 11-1. I think you're right. You might see Notre Dame get pushed out.
Very, very, very possible. So you got to understand, man, a team like a Texas A&M, they're in a very, very good spot. They don't have to play another game now. And you're not going to move a one-loss A&M and put Notre Dame over them as sitting at 2 losses. It's never going to happen. Same thing. You're not going to do that with an Ole Miss. Ole Miss is solid. If BYU loses, I mean, if BYU wins, man, Notre Dame better be fearful, especially if Alabama was to beat Georgia. They're not going to slide Georgia all the way from number 3 out.
Well, those are very similar situations. The Georgia Bama and the Texas Tech BYU conference championship matchups. Texas Tech ranked number 5 right now in the football playoffs. BYU ranked number 11. Georgia ranked number 4, I believe, and Alabama ranked number 10. So very similar positioning there. If the lower seed is able to pull off the upset in the conference championship, yes, that's going to propel them forward. Are you going to penalize a number 4 Georgia enough to push them out? I don't think so. Are you going to penalize a number 5 ranked Texas Tech to push them out so that Notre Dame can stay in when Notre Dame didn't play that additional game? Again, that supports the idea that there's detriment to the opportunity that a conference championship game presents because you could lose. Somebody has to. These are 2 teams, whatever conference, that are going head to head. Only one's going to come out with a win. One's going to come out with a loss.
The conference championship, the significance of a conference championship should be, hey, we will, if you win, it gives you an opportunity, like an Alabama right now, to solidify their spot. It gives BYU an opportunity to jump in and actually get a playoff spot. I don't think it should ever take a number 5 Texas Tech or number 4 currently. I think they're going to go to number 3 Georgia and knock them all the way out. I don't think Notre Dame is in a good spot, if you ask me. I just don't. Speaking of BYU, number 11, just outside looking in, takes on a Central Florida. BYU beats them 41-21. We thought that was going to happen. Good win.
Yeah, great win by the Cougars. They take care of business like they needed to do against Central Florida. Central Florida has struggled this year. The struggles continue on Saturday. 41 of them, as a matter of fact, as BYU is able to topple the Golden Knights.
Here's another one of those teams, man, that is pleading their case. But again, they're not a 9-3 Carolina. They're not a 9-3 Ole Miss. They're not a 9-3 Alabama of last year. This is a 10-2 Miami Hurricanes. They are number 12, man, and they beat Notre Dame. They had to take on a number 22 Pitt, 8-4, and Miami beat them 38-7. A lot of people, Mario Cristobal is hammering it down, saying, I think we should be in. I think we should be in. I don't know if they should or not. They are, when they're playing, when Beck throws to the right people, they're hard to beat. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's a tough call. We said it before, especially with the SEC schools that are all ranked, in favorable positions and are 10-2 schools. Miami ranked 12th right now, a 10-2 school. They're not going to be playing for their conference title. Where do the Hurricanes end up? Everybody at 10-2 is pushing and pushing, and even Sark at 9-3 is pushing and pushing to get that spot. There's just not enough to go around, and I think that's going to propel us next season into adding, again, at least 4 more teams.
See, so I'm sitting here trying to compare, the argument that Miami's trying to make in this. And so I remember a couple of weeks ago, Notre Dame had to play Pitt. Notre Dame played Pitt, and Notre Dame won that game. Miami beat them 38-7. Notre Dame beat them 37-15. So pretty close, right? Not a big difference in that. Both of them were at Pitt. Both games were at Pitt, so there wasn't a home field advantage. I think the committee has already shown their cards that they believe that Notre Dame is a better team than Miami. They already showed that. I don't think they reverse course. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And there's going to be that deference there to the Irish.
Mm-hmm. The Battle of California or Southern California, UCLA took on a number 17 Fighting Prophylactic. Southern Cal beat them 29-10. That's all I got to say about that. Yep. The Battle of Virginia, man. So number 18 Virginia had to host a struggling Virginia Tech. Now the Fighting Franklins. And man, Virginia beat them 27-7. We thought Virginia was going to win that game. They just playing great football, and they won. Man, secured their spot in the ACC championship. Man, they went 7-1 in the ACC. Great job, Virginia.
Yeah, currently ranked number 18, Tony Elliott has taken a school in Virginia that was really struggling when he first got there. They had some horrible things happen with their roster. Don't want to dive too deep into that, but just some tragedy to overcome. The Cavaliers have built back, and they have built back stronger. Chad Morris has a great year this season as the quarterback, and the hapless Hokies are going to go home and try and figure it out now for next year under James Franklin. Good job. The work starts now for the 26th season. Virginia at number 18, you got to win that conference championship to get in. Great season at 10-2, but that's just not enough on the resume. You're going to have the ACC championship to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah. Sorry, Bob. We were hoping your Hokies would win, but they didn't. 2 games left, man. Let's go to the group of 5. The one group of 5 team that's actually ranked. A number 24 Tulane had to take on a not very good Charlotte. Tulane beat them 27-0. Is that enough? I don't think. I don't know if that's enough. They still have to play in their conference championship game. I think that's after next weekend. We will know who's going to be that one group of 5 school.
Yeah, I mean, they actually put a beat down on Charlotte. Charlotte has had a rough season. They're 1-10 going into this game. They leave at 1-11, 27-0. What a long day. Retzloff, I think that's his name. If I pronounced it wrong, I'm real sorry. 291 yards, 2 interceptions for the Tulane quarterback. But just the green wave is way more than the Niners can handle on Saturday. Is it enough? Is it enough of a statement to say that we're the other guys that should get in? I don't know.
We'll see, man. It's just God, I think if you ask me, it's between them and North Texas. And all right, that leaves us 1 game left. And so a number 21 SMU, they were 8-3 going into this game, man. Had to take on a 6-2. Had to take on a 6-5. I'm going to get it right at some point. Cal, that's a long way. They had to travel a long way to California, but Cal beat them 38-35. I thought SMU was going to win this game.
We both had the Mustangs in this one, and the Pony Express fell well short of California on this particular weekend. I say well short. They lost by a field goal. But Cal does what they had to do. They rally up and are able to put their 7th win on the board for the season, securing, I don't know, maybe a mediocre bowl game instead of just a very low tier one. But great season for the Cal Bears. That's 2 consecutive solid seasons for the California Bears in the ACC after a move over from the now defunct Pac-12, the rebuilding Pac-12. But let's get to our Dog of the Week. Our Dog of the Week brought to you by Breaking Chains Fitness. bc-fit.net is their website. Look these guys up. They are doing wonderful things, breaking chains for kingdom gains. They care about you not only from a physical fitness standpoint, but a spiritual fitness standpoint. Look them up. Ask Brian what you can do or what he can help you do for yourself in this life and the next. Jaron Kuwe Sagapatule. I think I said that right. 31 of 40, 330 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns. This young man put his team on his back, and he led the Golden Bears of Cal over the SMU Mustangs. Great win, great weekend. Your dog of the week.
Yeah, man, if SMU would have won that, they would have been in the ACC championship game.
That's right.
Look, man, speaking of Brian's and Breaking Chains Fitness, man, I was talking to Brian the other day just about different stuff, man, and some of the things that he's doing for people out there at his gym, man, is just short of absolutely remarkable, man. Lives are changing at Breaking Chain Fitness, man. And not only, like you say, not only physically, but spiritually and mentally. You start working on the spiritual and mental side of people, or a physical side of people, the mental thing starts fixing itself. And he's really pouring into these people. So I encourage anyone in the Augusta area, the Central Savannah River area, to look this guy up, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. He's kind of a gentle soul, just a great guy, man, and I think that he could really help someone out. If you are struggling, Brian would love to pour into you, and he's got a very, very unique structure on how he takes clients as far as how to pay and the monetary part of it, man. It's one of a kind. And I think that goes to really show what kind of character and that he's trusted in the Lord to do this, man. So give him a call, give him a shout. But, man, what a crazy week of college football, week 14.
Week 14 did not disappoint. Rivalry week did not disappoint, even if you ended up on the losing side of it. Great games, fun to watch, enough to make you want to come back and do this to yourself all over again next year.
Over and over and over again. Just remember, there's always next year.
There's always next year.
That's
forever to thee.
Look, man, Chicken, I'm good, man. Are you you got anything else?
Jesus won and I am all crowed out.
All right, guys, love you. Deuces.